So what we're going to jump into today is our discussion on arpeggios. And this tails off from our previous discussion on scales and steps. So before we jump into arpeggios, we're going to do a quick review of what we covered last time. So we want to remember that a step is the distance between two consecutive notes. Our two types of steps that we use are whole steps and half steps. Remember that there are two half steps for every whole step. Two halves equal one whole. Half steps are the smallest distance between notes that we use in traditional Western music. The other thing we had talked about was how we can assign numerical values to our notes in the scale. So as we go through, we have our D major scale written out here. We can see now, as I have down here, that D is 1, E is 2, F sharp is 3, G is 4, A is 5, B is 6, C sharp is 7, and D up here would be 8, but it takes us back to 1. We reset from 1 to 7 back to 1, just like we go from A to G back to A. Our other reminder here is our dive into all of our steps in the major scale pattern put together. So our green lines here represent whole steps, and our pink lines represent half steps. So across the course of our entire scale, we have 7 different spaces, which means we have 7 different steps. We start off with a whole step from D to E, a whole step from E to F sharp, a half step from F sharp to G, a whole step from G to A whole step from A to B, a whole step from B to C sharp, and then we finish our scale with a half step from C sharp to D. So our pattern in total, as we have down here, is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. 2 whole steps, 1 half step, 3 whole steps, 1 half step. So, what does this have to do with arpeggios? Well, as we jump in, let's first talk about what is an arpeggio. An arpeggio is the notes of a chord played in succession, either ascending or descending, going up or coming back down. Where does this word come from? It comes from the Italian word arpa, or harp, which then turned into arpeggiare, which is to play the harp, and then became arpeggio. So, what we need to know for right now is that it is a specific group of notes in a major scale that make up the backbone of our scale. And that'll be the important thing for now, is that it is the backbone. So, what we start with is we have our major scale here, and we are actually going to take out 4 of our notes. And the notes down below with the numbers underneath them are labeled in green and red. Our green notes are the notes that are staying, and our red notes are the ones that are leaving us. So for our first one, we have D. We're going to hold on to D. E, we're going to cut out. F sharp, we're going to hold on to. G, we're going to cut out. A, we're going to hold on to. B, we're going to cut out. And C sharp, we're going to cut out. And then our high D here, we're going to hold on to as well. So for the first few, we are cutting out every other note, and then we cut out B and C sharp afterwards. So in terms of numbers, we're cutting out 2, 4, 6, and 7. We are keeping 1, 3, 5, and 1 at the top. So, as we see here, this is our arpeggio with our notes subtracted. Please disregard that caption. I needed to make that edit. But we have our open D, our F sharp, our A, and then our high Ds. This is our 1, 3, 5, 1. If we take our notes of the arpeggio and we combine them all together at once, we have what we would know as a D major chord. So again, that's D is 1 right here at the bottom. Second note is F sharp right there in the middle. A is just above that there. And then we have our high D back on top. So what we can see nicely here for cellos and basses, bass clef, our three notes, our main three notes of the arpeggio are all stacked nicely on these lines. Violins and violas, they're stacked nicely on these spaces here. So we have everything is skipping a line or a space as we go through for our first arpeggio. And then we've tacked on our starting pitch, our starting note there on top of the arpeggio. So you can kind of think of it as us building snowmen as we go through. And if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to fill out this parking lot document and ask those, and I will answer them as I am able to.